Jim Jolicoeur on the tackle. That was the stadium announcer on Friday nights under the lights at Chatsworth High. Number 40. Team captain, a missile in cleats. He drove opponents into the dirt like it was his birthright. He was featured in the Sunset League as a dominating force. The year before, he helped carry the team to the finals. The Chancellors were beaten. Barely. But that's how football goes. Brutal, beautiful, and always one broken ankle from heartbreak. From Pop Warner to varsity in a blink. Freshman year, Jim just wanted to be on the B team, shift out of the O-line, maybe run the ball, maybe hit people with a little more flair. But they elevated him to varsity. Small frame, big hits, bigger instincts. He could read plays like bedtime stories, which is ironic because sleep would get harder later. As a kid, Jim bounced between 11 different elementary schools, passed like a football between divorced parents, so he declared his own future. I'm gonna be a professional football player. He walked a mile to register with the Simi Valley Vikings. 10 years old, brain still under construction, already signing up for a lifetime of full contact. Football, he thought, I hope you're good to me. And for a while it was. Pop Warner gave him structure, camaraderie, a surrogate family. I never saw drugs in high school, not once. They were out there, sure, but I was too busy chasing numbers, on jerseys, in the box scores, not in casinos, not yet. He wasn't abused growing up. Not many times physically, anyway. Psychologically, that's for another chapter. But on the field, he was hit, tackled hard, slammed, over and over. The body remembers. So does the brain, even when it forgets. This was before Guardian caps, before concussion protocols, before anyone whispered subconcussive trauma. Back when the rule was simple. If you can walk, you can play. And sometimes even if you couldn't walk straight. From the sidelines to a cannon line. Senior year was a letdown. Injuries, grades, no playoffs. A teammate 1 year ahead went to Moorpark College. So did Jim. But something had shifted. Inside linebacker might be a little dangerous. He'd seen it. A teammate paralyzed from a clean hit, so he moved outside. Fewer blindside collisions, more predictable angles. In theory. In practice, James, he started going by James now, sounded more like a man, was still flying across the field like a heat-seeking missile. At 19, with relationships fleeting, direction foggy, and options thin, that same friend pitched a new plan. Let's join the Army. Enter the big guns. The recruiter painted it like a movie trailer. New York, Europe, travel, out of the valley, a life bigger than four corners. Next thing James knew, he was a cannon crewman with the 10th Mountain Division in Watertown, New York, far from glitz, close to Canada, his motherland, where his family name originated, closer to hearing loss. You had to learn the fuse settings on the 155mm howitzer. Get it wrong, and you'd catch a blast of heat or a sergeant's boot upside the helmet. And grenade training? If you tossed the pin instead of the grenade, they'd toss you, neck first into the ground. Nothing says welcome to the Army like a mild TBI during orientation. In his free time, he joined the Watertown Red and Black, the oldest semi-pro football team in America. He still needed the hit, the ritual, the familiar violence that whispered, you belong here. So he switched to tight end. I'm done being the hammer. Let me be the guy who runs routes, catches spirals, maybe dances into the end zone. Then came the post route. One play, one spiral, one midair collision, head over heels, lights out. That was it for me, James said. The stress, the anxiety, the memory fog, it wasn't just football anymore. It was everything. Back home, not whole. He returned from the Army and gave football one last go, back at Moorpark. But his brain was different. Focusing was harder. Thoughts got stuck. The ringing in his ears, tinnitus, started in the Army and never left. It was getting louder. It took him 5 years to earn a 2-year degree, in part because of distraction, in part because of Europe. His professors ran student tours, Germany, Hungary, Austria, Czechoslovakia before it split. He was hooked. Next year, Italy and Greece. Next year, Spain and Portugal. After each trip, he adjusted his return flight, hopped trains, drifted like a soul on layover. In Paris at 28, James sat in a laundromat washing a week's worth of train sweat and maybe a decade of trauma. A flyer on the floor caught his eye. Football player, helmet, bold text. Tu aimes le sport? Tu aimes le contact? Come play for the Bulldogs of Asnières. He showed up, ran drills, sweated like he was 18 again. Before leaving, he offered his best mangled au revoir. But they weren't saying goodbye. They were saying, bienvenue. You've got experience. We need foreign players. We'll give you housing, meals, a stipend. You can live in Paris for free. James paused. You're going to pay me to play football in Paris? Bruises on the brain. He returned every season for 5 years, leaving behind unstable jobs, unstable relationships, and unstable moods. Flying to France like clockwork, bashing his body for a dream that, in its own way, had come true. It was the top level of play in France. That little boy's dream, semi-fulfilled. His passport stamped, his memory, not so much. Inside, he was unraveling. He was short-tempered, easily triggered. A missed train, a look, a wrong tone, all it took to light the fuse. Nights were worse, not filled with wine and poetry, filled with the haze of demi-packets of Marlboro Lights and Desperado, blurry bars, a few missed mornings. He wasn't chasing thrills. He was chasing silence. It wasn't about the buzz. It was about finding anything to quiet my brain, something to hit back with. He was self-medicating. He just didn't know the name for it yet. They say the brain has plasticity. Mine was more Play-Doh. The research catches up too late. Boston University's CTE Center says early exposure to tackle football increases the risk and severity of chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Subconcussive hits, the ones that don't knock you out, still rearrange your wiring. Military research from the VA, dEVERy, and RAND shows blast exposure affects cognition, memory, and emotional regulation long after the smoke clears. Guardian caps, targeting rules, concussion protocols, too little, too late for many. For kids like Jimmy, who started at 10 and never stopped, those rules came after the damage. He never went pro, never got a ring, but he got a lifetime of contact in sport, in war, in culture, in consequence. And the cost still being tallied. If this story hits home, you're not alone. For every James, there are thousands. Athletes, veterans, young men with helmets and hollowing memories. Maybe it's time we start preserving minds instead of punishing them, before the hits add up too far to count.
Cleats too big, but I ran fast. 10 years old with a dream that crashed. Tackled life on lines of turf. Didn't know what my mind was worth. Varsity came with broken ribs. Shouted plays and head first hits. A little glory, a lot of pain. Another Friday, another strain. Mom and dad like sideline signs. I bounced between them, lost in time. School to school, bruised but proud. Football was my only crowd. I've got bruises on the brain from chasing hits and chasing fame. The lights, the war, the cannon song. I carried weight that don't belong. No gold, no rings, no Hall of Fame. Just buried sparks and phantom flames. Still standing in the pouring rain, counting bruises. Bruises on the brain. Watertown cold, red and black heat. Tight end routes and shattered knees. That one spin knocked out the lights. I knew I couldn't do more nights. Back to school but lost the thread. Took 5 years just to clear my head. The ringing started downrange loud. It never stopped its screaming now. Smoking Paris nights away, drinking just to dull the gray. I told myself it's just a phase, but I was fraying at the base. I've got bruises on the brain from chasing hits and chasing fame. The lights, the war, the cannon song. I carried weight that don't belong. No gold, no rings, no Hall of Fame. Just buried sparks and phantom flames. Still standing in the pouring rain, brain. They say guardian caps will save the kids. Wish they had them when I did. Now I flinch at sudden sound and feel the cracks beneath the crown. Not every scar shows on the skin. Some are loud and live within. I wore a helmet, played the game, and walked away, but not the same. I've got bruises on the brain from chasing hits I can't explain. The highs, the lows, the field, the fight, the cost of trying to feel right. No fame, no stage, no victory lane, just tremors I can't quite contain. Still breathing in the Paris rain, living with these bruises